Over the years, Burger King has released and discontinued dozens of weird and wonderful offerings. Did you know that there was once a Whopper designed to be cooked by the sun? If that has your stomach rumbling, you'll want to check out these BK items that we desperately miss. A cold glass of lemonade is a quintessential hot weather treat. Back in the summer of 2012, Burger King released its own frozen lemonade and then added a strawberry version for good measure. Plenty of customers were smitten. One person declared on Twitter that they were better than McDonald's lemonades, while another tweeted, along with a single thumbs down emoji, "When the Burger King lady tells you that they stopped frozen lemonade because summer's over." This drink sounds like a holiday resort on a tropical island, so it should at least be brought back during the summertime. Although, if we're being totally honest, it should really be a permanent menu item, as sometimes you even need a frozen glass on a cold winter night. A good discount can taste absolutely scrumptious, as the flavor of your food can swirl with the euphoria of the deal to make the whole thing 10 times better. In 2018, Burger King released a combo that had the makings of such an experience. It was called the King Box, and it consisted of an entree, small fries, a small soft drink, and 2 cookies. Customers could choose as their entree either a Whopper sandwich, one of 2 chicken sandwiches, or chicken tenders. If this markdown doesn't sound like a good enough deal for your tastes, then you should know that Burger King teamed up with Postmates to offer it a discount. That's right, in February of 2019, you could get the King Box for only $3 through the Postmates app. Although, if you weren't a member of Postmates Unlimited, then you'd have to pay a delivery fee. But this was still a downright steal. Both the in-store bargain and the Postmates exclusive ought to be brought back from the void ASAP. Cinnamon is delicious, icing is delicious, and baked goods are delicious. Ergo, Burger King's Cini Minis had all the makings of a jolly good time. This offering was a treasured dessert from the 90s that got a limited return back in 2018. An Elite Daily article from that year was rather gutted that these treats were being withdrawn, as it declared, "Personally, I'm still deciding between grabbing all the Cini Minis I can carry or creating a special Cini Mini storage area in my freezer because priorities." It's worth noting that not everything from the 90s holds up now, but Cini Minis may very well be an exception. As Jessica Hallbrook of The Repository raved back in 2018, the miniature cinnamon rolls are just as tasty as I remember, with plenty of cinnamon and a relatively light, chewy dough. Meanwhile, Dan Kane, also of The Repository, remarked, "If you're craving an indulgent sweet treat in the morning, the Cini Minis give good value." Have you ever craved a piece of bacon or sausage or ham in between 2 pieces of French toast? Once upon a time, Burger King had you covered with that very desire. In May 2019, the chain launched a line of limited-time French toast sandwiches. Each of them featured sweetened bread, one of the aforementioned fillings, American cheese, and an egg. Brandeating.com gave the sausage version a go and enjoyed it quite a bit, declaring in their review, "The French toast was eggy and lightly sweet with a soft texture. There was good coverage to the batter that went all the way to the edges. The cheese was nicely melted, and the sausage, while not offering much in the way of seasoning, was suitably salty, juicy, and meaty. The egg was soft and light."
Savory.
I gotta go sweet.
Savory.
Definitely sweet.
So if this meal sounds like your cup of tea, then you should probably invent a time machine and take it back to 2019. Or perhaps if you want a more workable plan, you can petition Burger King to bring it back to their breakfast menu. The French toast sandwiches weren't the only sweet and savory item that Burger King released in 2019. As several months afterward, they debuted 3 maple waffle sandwiches. There were 3 options: sausage, bacon, and ham. Each version additionally contained an egg and American cheese. That all sounds pretty similar to the French toast sandwich, but nevertheless, there's theoretically space on the menus for both of these offerings. Instagram user Paducah Foodie Guide gave the sausage maple waffle sandwich a glowing endorsement by raving, "I really enjoyed the sausage with the sweet maple waffle. All the flavors combined really well." On some mornings, you might awake craving French toast, while on other days, you need your waffles. And it's time, once again, for Burger King to tend to that. There are simply some days when you're not in the mood for classic fast food potatoes. And in those moments, a packet of seasoned sweet potato curly fries may be exactly what you need. Fortunately, Burger King once made such a product. But unfortunately, it was only for a limited time in 2012. Serious Eats reviewed this snack before it was terminated, and they were surprised at how good these curls could be. As they noted, they're liberally dusted with what the chain calls maple seasoning, which provides a noticeable grit and a severe shot of sugar. Serious Eats also advised that if you ate these curly fries at their absolute hottest, then you might be in for a treat. In fact, they may very well be able to hold their own against the joint's everyday fries. We might even go so far as to say they were better. That is, if you love a touch of sweetness, of course. If Burger King doesn't resuscitate this product, then every other fast food restaurant should put them on their menu. We shouldn't pin our culinary dreams on just a single chain, after all.
I think it's time we diversify.
Here's yet another savory and sugary item we'd love to have back. In 2012, Burger King launched its Bacon Sundae, which consisted of soft serve, fudge, caramel, and bacon pieces. Huffington Post reviewed this creation and offered some noteworthy compliments, including, the saltiness of the bacon was a nice contrast to the sweetness from the rest of the ingredients. I also really liked that the bacon added a crunchy element to the smooth soft serve. Another reviewer on Grub Grade was likewise impressed, declaring, all in all, the BK Bacon Sundae was everything that I had hoped it would be, and nothing that I had feared. The bacon stayed crispy throughout, and its smokiness and saltiness powered through, even when there was a lot of chocolate and caramel on the spoon. Clearly, bacon is eternally popular, even for dessert. And it's time for BK to remember that. The Middle East country of Kuwait can get very hot. We're talking up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so scorching that in 2018, Burger King decided to cook there without its flame grills, instead utilizing the sun's heat to barbecue their patties. As they explained in a promo,
we built a solar machine that harnesses the power of the sun's rays to create the ultimate flame grill experience.
So basically, the sunshine warmed up the King's machine, and then this machine grilled up the food. These patties were then used for the chain's sun-grilled Whoppers. Now, it may be obvious at this point that this item can't be served everywhere. But if you live in a place that ever gets this hot, such a novelty meal would surely make the heat just a little more bearable. In 2016, Burger King combined two iconic comfort foods into one fully fledged dish. It was called Mac and Cheetos, and it consisted of deep-fried macaroni and cheese covered in Cheeto flavoring. Alas, these sticks were merely a limited-time product, but plenty of customers genuinely enjoyed this concoction. As one declared on Twitter, if you haven't tried Mac and Cheetos from Burger King, you're missing out. And after they were discontinued, another mournfully tweeted, I miss the Mac and Cheetos, only a promotional item. Since the Mac and Cheetos united two culinary classics and had a punny name, it's no surprise that people loved it as much as they did, and they'll surely love it the same amount again if and when BK brings it back.
Final review, 2 cheetah thumbs up.
More than a year after the original Mac and Cheetos debuted, Burger King released another version of this already overly indulgent dish. These bites of deep-fried macaroni went by the name Flamin' Hot Mac and Cheetos. Based on that moniker, it's not hard to work out what they were covered with. But just in case it's not clear, they were coated in Flamin' Hot Cheetos dust. But was this sequel any good? Well, there were definitely some satisfied customers. A few BuzzFeed employees ordered a couple of 5-packs and thoroughly enjoyed them. As Farrah Penn raved, it was cheesy and it was flamin' hot. What more could you ask for? Meanwhile, Penn's colleague, Crystal Rowe, was initially concerned that it would be too spicy for her palate, but she was ultimately satisfied as she declared, I could have eaten like a whole other box myself. Nothing screams Burger King like the king himself, and with every king comes a crown. Crown-shaped chicken nuggets were once synonymous with BK. They were a fun twist on a classic that set the brand apart from its fast food competitors, and they didn't give up the throne easily. Alas, Burger King got rid of their crown-shaped nuggets in 2011, a move that triggered an online petition garnering 2,000 signatures. More recently, A 2021 Twitter poll revealed that 56% of BK fans wanted their royal nuggets back. Unfortunately, crown-shaped nuggets haven't returned nationwide, though they did come back for a limited time in Miami, Florida. For years, crown-shaped nuggets were a small taste of fast food royalty. But now, Burger King's nuggets are just standard fast food fare, the veritable commoners of the kingdom. In the mid-2000s, it appeared that White Castle had come to usurp Burger King's throne. In 2004, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle became an instant cinematic classic. It only netted about $5 million in its opening weekend, but it's since gone on to develop a cult fandom. White Castle is officially a pop culture phenomenon at this point, and the few holdouts who hadn't yet crossed the blue awning threshold into the slider kingdom eventually became converts. It's not hard to see why White Castle's sliders are so delicious and addictive. For one thing, they've almost double the sodium of Burger King's burgers, but that doesn't mean that BK hasn't ever tried to storm the castle. In 2008, they introduced burger shots, which were essentially the same thing as White Castle's sliders, but without the onions, which is also to say they were better for your breath, in case you were thinking of spending Valentine's Day at White Castle. BK also launched a series of breakfast shots, featuring ham, bacon, or sausage, paired with an egg, a smoky cheese sauce, and a slice of American cheese. Sadly, burger shots never caught on, but you can't deny that they sure were fun to share with a group of friends while they were around, and we'd love to have the opportunity to do that again. Donuts and burgers might sound like an odd combination, but it's one that somehow just works. At one time, Burger King even floated the idea of the Safghani King, a veritable donut burger, to celebrate Hanukkah. But it appears that that was only available in their Israel locations. For the rest of us, we had BK's donut holes to work with, which briefly graced the all-day menu back in 2013. They were essentially glazed, bite-sized geese donuts. And, if we're being honest, they were never exactly the best menu item. As the impulsive buy put it, the dough takes on taste and texture of a frozen Pillsbury dinner roll that's been put in the microwave a few seconds. Nevertheless, they were still glazed donuts. In other words, they were still good. And according to a mashed survey, 22.37% of Burger King fans want them back on the menu. In a world where fast food breakfast offerings are few and far between, Burger King's donut holes stood out. And it's not hard to see why. Today, if you want something sweet for breakfast, you're probably not going to get it from the King. Besides a pancake platter, the breakfast menu only includes savory options like hash browns, breakfast burritos, and of course, the croissant-wich. Burger King is the king of burgers, and not chicken, for a reason. Its poultry options tend to fall flat, but chicken fries are the exception to this rule. They've got a crunchy coating and a peppery kick that sets them apart from the chain's forgettable nuggets. It's not surprising, then, that chicken fries have been one of BK's most beloved menu items since their 2005 introduction. So much so that when they were discontinued in 2012, online petitions galore popped up. One group of chicken fries enthusiasts even planned to protest outside of BK's corporate offices in Miami. In 2014, chicken fries came back for a limited time, and they've since become a permanent menu item with various limited-time iterations, from buffalo chicken fries to fiery chicken fries. But it's the crispy pretzel edition that remains the standout. Crispy pretzel chicken fries were introduced for a limited time back in 2018, and as noted by Bustle, they're made of white meat chicken in a crispy breading, and then covered in salty breading with pretzel pieces, making for a major crunch on the outside and a warm and soft squishiness on the inside. It's an explosion of flavors and textures in your mouth. In conclusion, chicken fries fans are still salty that BK pulled them from the menu, and they'd like that to be rectified as soon as possible.
Hey, chicken! You got a lot of nerve hanging around with those french fries, man. Maybe you want to be a french fry, huh?
Maybe I do.
It's called Burger King, not Rib King. Nevertheless, BK's limited-time pork ribs were reportedly going to be exhausted before their 2010 promotion had even ended. The chain had sold north of 10 million ribs, which would seem to indicate that they were at least pretty decent. But were they? According to an analysis at Brand Eating, they did in fact taste pretty great. As the reviewer noted, the ribs were actually nicely charred with a nice smoky flavor, without tasting burnt. The meat was pretty tender and pretty much fell off the bone. However, this take did have a couple of criticisms, as the reviewer thought that it was too salty, while others complained that it was too expensive. If Burger King ever wants to remake these meals, they should take this critique on the chin. In the following years, BK has released a number of rib-based products, including a rib sandwich in 2013 and a 4-pack of chicken ribs in South Africa in 2015. When it comes to potatoes, Burger King is better known for its failures than its successes. For example, their Status fries reportedly had 40% less fat than traditional fast food fries and took a decade to develop. In theory, they should have been a hit among diet-conscious customers. Instead, these ostensibly healthy fries pretty much flopped. In 2014, Status fries were discontinued for good. But we bet you didn't even notice their exit, because, let's be honest, nobody missed them. Besides, Burger King had already found a better path towards so-called healthier fries without anyone noticing. In 2012, they introduced sweet potato fries as part of a barbecue-inspired summer menu. Sadly, though, these fries were only available for a limited time, which, quite frankly, is the opposite of sweet. Now, to be sure, these sweet potato fries weren't exactly the picture of health. They were still fried, after all, and they weren't specially engineered to be a diet food. But sweet potatoes have long been heralded for their health benefits. According to Healthline, they're a great source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And the price point wasn't bad either, as BK's sweet potato fries only cost about 30 cents more than regular fries, and packed a lot more flavor and probably some more nutritional value. For now, they remain deeply missed. In the early 2000s, cupcakes were having a major moment. According to a 2014 Business Insider article, this particular craze started back in 2000, when an episode of Sex and the City highlighted the cupcakes from New York City's Magnolia Bakery. Then we saw the launch of Crumb's Bake Shop, followed by Sprinkles Cupcakes a couple years later. And a few years after that, Baked by Melissa launched their bite-sized cupcakes. And then the trend finally trickled down to Burger King in 2009, when the Cupcake BK Sundae Shake was born. This treat was a blast of sugar that could satiate even the sweetest of all sweet teeth. A review in Donuts for Dinner noted that its yellow cake-flavored ice cream was vaguely reminiscent of eggnog. The shake was also topped with whipped cream and sprinkles, culminating in what the Seek Amy blog described as a, quote, super creamy and rich treat. Some customers couldn't quite handle the sugar rush, but others who didn't even necessarily like Burger King flocked to the restaurant for a taste. Fast forward to the 2020s, and now the cupcake trend is a little overcooked. Reviews of BK's Cupcake Shake are a relic of the past, although we hold out hope that culinary history will eventually repeat itself. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more mashed videos about your favorite chain restaurants are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.